Welcome back. I'm Susan Linder, your host of the Innovation Storytellers Show. Today is going to be a very special, maybe we'll say seasonal opportunity to talk to my guest today. We are going to be talking about AI and avatars in a way that you probably haven't thought of before. Everyone I talk to these days is talking about AI. I just got back from Santa Monica, where I met with 22 CTOs and CIOs across the Fortune 500 in a private steakhouse, private room meeting to talk about innovation storytelling and how people are telling their AI story. Today's guest is taking the conversation around AI right to your television, right into your home to talk about how to present information in a way that maybe you haven't thought of yet. It's why I'm really excited to have Amy Freeze on my show today. She is a meteorologist, an innovator, and a public safety advocate. Amy is a pioneering meteorologist, a media innovator, and a 6-time Emmy Award winner, recognized for her dynamic career in broadcast meteorology and her groundbreaking work in weather technology. She made history as the first female chief meteorologist in Chicago. She anchored the world's first fast weather channel in New York and became the first American meteorologist to brand a digital avatar and create her own weather ecosystem with Schreezer Media. With more than 2 decades of forecasting experience, Amy has covered life-changing weather events coast to coast, including Portland, Denver, Chicago, Philly, and New York City. Her work forecasting the storm surge in Superstorm Sandy was critical before the storm and utilized in post-Sandy rebuilds. Her work has spanned from ice storms in the Pacific Northwest to blizzards in the Midwest and to the East Coast hurricane season over those past 2 decades, and so much more. Amy's forecast during the May 2011 EF5 Joplin tornado was nationally rebroadcast and later cited in federal records. A leader in integrating social media with weather updates, Amy was one of the first broadcasters to use platforms like Twitter and Facebook to deliver real-time updates, shaping the modern landscape of weather communication. Now, if you think her background stops there, you'd be wrong. Beyond her television career, Amy has made significant contributions to public safety and emergency management. Her work during Superstorm Sandy and her method of winter storm alerts has led to changes in public messaging and safety protocols, saving lives and improving preparedness. Amy's media and scientific contributions have also been featured across popular culture, including appearances on Jeopardy, Netflix, and Scrubs. So, without further ado, Amy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Susan, thank you. That was a great introduction. So generous. And I'm happy to be here with you. So many of the great stories that you've told have helped me along the way. So I look forward to being your guest today.
Oh, wonderful. I feel like a Superstorm Sandy survivor from
hmm
that horrible storm as a New Yorker. And boy, where would we be without people sharing real scientific information about what was going on the ground and how we recover? So thank you. I want to dive right in first to your background, because as we like to say on the show, nobody walks into the front door of innovation. We all come in through very interesting paths. So tell us a little bit about how you got your start, both in meteorology and this transition to all the amazing things you're doing in AI.
Of course, one of the first things people always want to know is that your real last name. And
Yeah.
yes, I was born with the name Amy Freeze. So there was a little bit of destiny and fate into it. I did not grow up wanting to be a meteorologist or chasing storms or anything like that. I actually think I wanted to be a veterinarian at one point. But I started to go through college and I did take some journalism classes. And it was at one point where they said, well, newspaper, we don't know. So switch over to broadcasting. That's what I did. And I was working in a television station in Portland, Oregon on the West Coast and out in the Pacific Northwest. And they lost their chief meteorologist for a time because he was getting a surgery. And they said, who are we going to get to do the weather? And in walked Amy Freeze. And so they said, go up to the weather deck. And I said, I don't even know really about forecasting weather. So I went back to school at that time and took the next couple of years to get a second degree in meteorology, and then eventually a master's degree from University of Pennsylvania in environmental sciences. And so I kind of just dove headfirst into the science and have had an amazing career from Portland to Denver to Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, and been in New York about the past 15 years before I decided, you know what? I've worked a lot. I kind of feel like a robot at times. I'm going to turn myself into one. I took my last buyout from Fox Weather, which was basically a 24-hour operation in the fast channel industry. And I said, I'm just going to kind of chill out and see what I can do. And I'd seen some of the digital avatars. I thought maybe that's something I'm going to do. But it was actually changing my refrigerator filter that I became an innovator, because I went to YouTube to learn how to change the refrigerator filter. And as I was there, the algorithm started dumping all these weather sources at me, right? So I see a guy in his basement doing the weather, tracking storms. I see this person doing explainers. And I thought, oh, all those people are kind of doing their own TV station in a way on YouTube. And I just took a glance at their numbers and I thought, wow, 2 million subscribers, you're holding 200,000 people during a weather event. That's more than most television stations are doing. I said,
Right.
why should I get up in the middle of the night to go to work anymore when I could really start creating my own product? So that's how it happened, a refrigerator filter.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to tell you, I did a little bit of homework prior to this conversation today in preparation for this conversation. And I realized that Amy Freeze, while unusual in the world of weather, you are among an illustrious group of innovators and meteorologists who have these weather-related names. Are you aware of this?
I know a few of them, yes. In fact, recently I spoke with Larry Sprinkle.
Yes, he was on my
Yes.
list.
Yes, and Dallas Raines also is a friend of mine from being in the industry.
Yeah, so for all of my listeners, wherever you are in the United States, I'm just going to share with you Ray-Ban, Sam Champion, Stormfield, Amy Freeze, Sunny House, Dewey Hopper, Johnny Mountain, Casanova Nurse, Dallas Raines, Stormy Rotman, Glenn Hurricane Schwartz, Topper Shutt, Flip Spiceland, Larry Sprinkle, Henry Wappler with his Wappler Doppler, and Ken Weathers. This is from treehugger.com, by the way, but they did
There's
that
some good
because,
ones in there. Yeah.
yeah, so you are amongst a very esteemed group of colleagues who do the weather and give up, the joy of their namesake. So good on you. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's been fun. It's been
let's
fun.
get back to this avatar because I'm so curious what your peers, like the Larry Sprinkles of the world, thought about you creating this avatar for yourself that, well, I guess we got started first with I have a huge following, right? I build up a social media following because people trust me when it comes to learning about the weather that impacts their lives. So the decision to move from like, wow, look at all this following, I could just be on Twitter 24/7, like someone shoot me. That's excruciatingly exhausting.
Right.
To now saying, I'm going to build an avatar that sounds like me, looks like me, and is trusted enough to share with my 2 million followers. Like, tell us a little bit about how you discovered the technology, how you began to put these pieces together.
When people want to know about the weather, there's certain questions that can be answered very quickly that have absolute answers. Is there a weather watch in a certain area at a certain time, which is basically hey, there could be crazy weather here, be on guard, versus the details of the forecast that are needed for someone's house or the baseball field where they're taking their kids later in the day and what threats might exist during a warning. So between those two, that's really where you start to see the difference. Is absolute information could be handled by an avatar or a digital twin or assistant that you create. So over the years, a lot of questions that people have asked me, I wish I could just have it on repeat, right? You repeat, answer the question. Also with weather, when there's a broad concept that can be shared, that works great. But if there's another type of more specific detail, the human should be handling it and in a more detailed way. Bottom line is that a digital twin, while it might seem a little scary at first for some people, they might even think, hey, this might take my job. It's really not the case. And probably about 4 or 5 years, a lot of the world will have digital twins that do things for them, meaning that they've given their imagery over to an assistant that can speak on their behalf. Yes, can't wait to see you for our appointment on Friday. That's something that your digital twin can handle. There's no violation there in the twin saying, hey, we got you, we'll see you later. And it allows the human to do be a lot more productive in scaling and being one-on-one and personalizing things. So that's kind of the concept behind it. When I first started doing it, a lot of meteorologists, as well as just any type of career, people say AI is going to take all the jobs. I can tell you firsthand that creating a digital twin requires a meteorologist. It requires someone who knows what to do to program, to teach the brain of the avatar. One of the avatars I created is a talkback. It's basically the avatar sitting there waiting for you, and you say, why is the sky blue? And the avatar answers your question. And that type of avatar required me to create the database for the brain that the avatar would answer the question. So if the avatar is asked something like, where do you live, Amy? The avatar would respond and say, that's not an appropriate question. So I've trained her well. So
Mm.
those are some of the ideas. And the AI portion of it, that those AI creators, they would not have programmers, would not have been able to create a meteorologist like me without me helping them, and vice versa. If I wanted to create a twin of myself, I'm an expert in meteorology. I'm not an expert. I've become an expert in AI, but I wasn't in the beginning. And so we needed that relationship together to make that happen. And to me, it's just created so many different types of products that do require a meteorologist, do require an expert. But then once I program it, it's doing work that's really automated, and it doesn't require the details. For example, if somebody wanted to know when your podcast was, if you recorded yourself and said, hey, my podcast is this time, blah, 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 or you wanted to put details of each episode and have yourself recorded saying it and just say, this is Susan's digital twin, there's your promo. And you didn't have to create that. You didn't have to have time in the studio with a big entourage to make that happen. You've done it once. And so your digital twin can handle some of those things. This is it's really an important concept for the television industry itself, because of all the changes that are going on right now.
So let's talk about that. What do you think the response is? I don't know if you watch the morning show on Apple TV.
Right.
Huge fan. And one of the big glitches is they decide they're going to run the Olympics, right, in multiple languages. And they've decided to have, the AI of the anchor that winds up being translated into
Mm.
126 languages or whatever it may be. And it glitches at the upfronts, right? At outfronts, right? So,
Yes.
and boy, is it terrifying. Like everything just goes haywire. What is the reception that you're getting from media bosses and what they think about this? And what do advertisers think about having, sponsoring an AI personality?
Yeah, great question. My avatar, she only speaks 80 languages, so she's not quite to 140 yet. But, the concept too is the idea that someone might steal your image and make it do something you don't want it to do. Or there are legal ramifications of using our name, image, and likeness. And that's true with or without an avatar. And what the concept is here is, I'm never going to do that because I don't want someone to make me say something that I don't want to say. Well, the reality is that if you don't take steps to protect your name, image, and likeness in the world in the future, then they might just create one and make
Anyway.
it of you and make you say stuff anyway. So when you start to make an avatar, you then are recorded as a celebrity face. And so anytime you try to make an avatar in the future, it requires the verification of the celebrity face. This is for really the top avatars and the best companies that have automation and so forth. There are some companies that do it without those verifications, but they're few and far between, and they don't have the best quality anyway. So you always want to go with a company that's doing that, and then they're sort of protecting your face in a way. The reception, I've never had somebody go, I don't like that. That doesn't look like you. What they say is, wow, that looks just like you. That's incredible. This is so cool. Then there comes the concerns. How am I going to talk other meteorologists or other talent into doing this? Because how do you pay it? How do you scale it? How do you make sure that people are given the financial rewards of using their name, image, and likeness? So there's some things that people are hesitant to use it or to embrace it. but they want to. They want to do it. They're just not, the avenue for which it to make it happen is not as solid of a road, I think, as I would like it to be. One of the reasons I made Amy Freeze AI was to show people what was possible with technology. It wasn't really, I wanted to be the Alexa of the weather world. It wasn't like Amy Freeze AI is going to answer everybody's weather all the time and we don't need other meteorologists. It was more a concept to show people what you can do when you recreate an expert of yourself, because it is the trusted imagery, it is the trusted voice, and then it allows you to scale. It's really the same concept that it would be for an insurance agent or a realtor or a dermatologist or a plastic surgeon or any of these types of experts, that they would love to scale themselves in an intimate setting where someone could say, hey, how much is that surgery's recovery time? Instead of the surgeon who should be doing the surgeries, he could actually answer that question with his digital twin, a brain that he built to have that personal experience with the person that trusts him. So that's kind of the mentality that I have behind it. So the reception's been good. I don't know how long it's going to take people, but I do believe that digital twin innovation is on the doorstep.
For sure. And I know there are professional speakers, that are looking to folks like me who are looking to adopt digital twins in order to, rapidly do webinars in many different languages simultaneously to serve clients, even though you'd love to be able to learn Mandarin and go and speak to hundreds of thousands of Chinese participants, but it's increasingly difficult. Your content is relevant, but you can't get it there. So even that translation opportunity and to do a webinar simultaneously across a company is an amazing opportunity. So I think we'll see more and more this type of thing happening, where it's not that we're giving over ourselves, we're expanding opportunities for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, a great example of exactly what you just said is in the borough of Queens, there are dozens and dozens of languages that are spoken just within the one neighborhood of Queens.
Right.
And so, one of the things the city of New York has done that's been sort of revolutionary, I think, is they've been using drones to do emergency alerts out in the neighborhoods. So, say there was going to be a flash flood watch or flash flood alert, they might use drones with a speaker system in different languages where those neighborhoods are known for that language, and then they can create a safety alert that people can receive, rather than doing everything in English and people don't know what's going on. They're kind of adapting to how do we get the message to the most people quickest.
And gosh knows, if you're in Elmhurst, one block is all Bengali, the next block is Colombian, the next block, I mean, it's block by block, United Nations.
Exactly.
I think National Geographic said it was the most diverse zip code in the United States is Queens, New York. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Tell us a little bit about, when you hit these objections, and maybe we can talk about how storytelling can help overcome objections too, for my listeners. When you hit these objections, when people are going, yeah, but how do I know? Or what if people don't
Mhm.
trust it? Or tell
Right.
us some of the objections that you had and how you've sought to counter those objections in your storytelling.
Yeah, there was a story that came out. It was on CBS Morning News about a meteorologist in Nashville, and she had her face put into videos and also onto pictures in very compromising, unflattering situations, and then was basically extorted, threatened to give us money or else we're going to put these images out, etc. And even with going out and trying to get help with the police and so on and so forth, it was very difficult. Obviously, an embarrassing situation, a scary situation, and didn't really know what the solution was to it. She actually went, I think, to the Tennessee state legislature and helped to get some other bills passed for more protections. So when people say, hey, I'm scared something will happen to me, there's an example of something that can happen to you, but those types of things will happen with or without. So we can go back to my son, who's, well, let's see, 9 years ago, my son came to me as a young teenager and said, Mom, look at this picture of you. And it was, again, my head put onto someone else's body doing things that I didn't do. And at that time, I kind of got a chuckle out of it. And I said, oh, that's not me. That's people on the internet doing X, Y, and Z. That's going to happen whether we like it or not. The
Mm.
other part of that, I would say, is there's a fear factor and it's a real factor, is what I'm saying there. But on the other And I've watched over being in television more than 25 years, coast to coast. I've seen a lot of my colleagues over time not want to adopt technology. When we first started using Facebook and Twitter to send alerts about news and weather, people were kind of against it. Now we know Twitter and now X is the source for most breaking news. So when you don't adapt or even adopt the new technology that's developing, it can really inhibit your ability to move forward in the future of your career. Without saying, if you don't adopt, you're going to be out the door. I'm saying if you don't adopt, you're going to be very far behind and who knows what else. So there are
Mm.
two facets there to it. I do think that you can tell stories that show people, yes, there are some risks here and you have to be aware of them. But the other part of the story is that, and I think it's the story that sells the future, is that AI is coming. Figuring out how it will work in your world and how you can use it to do whatever you want to do better, that's truly the secret. Pretending like it's not going to come or being scared of it won't result in what you think it's going to result in. It won't result in it going away. They've had some talks here about AI bubble, like the bubble's going to burst, AI's over and so forth. No, it's like saying that, well, we invented the car, but everyone's still going to be doing a horse and buggy.
For
We're
sure.
not, yeah.
It's really interesting because on this show, we talk a lot about innovation, and I can tell you that 3 years ago, this conversation was about Web3, the metaverse,
Hmm.
NFTs, and NFT trading, and there
Hmm.
was a lot of excitement about that. And so there is a hype cycle that goes along with AI to some degree, right? Where we know the valuations are very high. It doesn't mean the underlying technology is going anywhere.
Right, exactly. So we know NFTs have sort of shifted in a way into the Bitcoin underworld, and there's a lot of trading going on in those different kinds of things. So understanding the technology as it goes along doesn't mean that will always be the answer, but it certainly is important to understand it so that as it evolves, either you can catch on and grab it for your own use, or you can be aware about how it might alter things, the domino effect, if you will, or even the chaos theory or the butterfly effect, those types of things. If you see, oh wow, it's changing how this is going to be, there's another need down the road, you might start to say, that's where my niche is going to fit in. So in a way, I kind of thought about that when I did Amy Freeze AI. I think the best thing that I created with Amy Freeze AI is the avatar can do an alert from the National Weather Service. So when a thunderstorm watch comes, she grabs the information from that text that's released, and she makes a graphic that's AI generated and also a script that she says, and that alert in under 1 minute can be created and dispersed electronically through your phone if you signed up for alerts, or if you wanted to get it through Twitter or any other social means. That's an automated process. So from the National Weather Service, it triggers her to act. The AI makes a automation of an image and also automation of the script, and then she performs exactly as I would in delivering that information, which is absolute. There's no interpretation, and it's data that's needed urgently. So I think that's the best thing that she can do right now.
Yeah, I mean, goodness knows, I just look at my iPhone app and I look at the weather app and I go, half of this is unintelligible to me. It's not to say that, like, okay, 30% chance of rain doesn't actually mean there's a 30% chance it might rain in my area, right? So even though we're getting things that we are direct from, National Weather Service, my interpretation is still terrible, or at least Apple's is in giving me the information. So having a trusted name behind that, and someone that actually explains that weather service data in a way that's recognizable to me is so much more helpful, I think.
Yeah, a lot of research has been done about how people are getting their weather these days. And I will have friends that say, oh, I don't need the forecast. I'm not watching TV anymore because I get the weather on my phone. Even though people get it on their phone, they still search out the forecast, especially when it's important to them or it feels threatening, because they want a verification or reinforcement. It goes back to the late 90s when they did research and people would know what the weather was coming, the next, 3 days from now it's going to snow, but they would watch every single night to get the updates. And even the next day to say, yes, it snowed at my house, but I would need a verification from a human to say, yes, it snowed and it was a big snow. People like to have that sort of validation in their own world, and especially when it comes to weather.
Yeah, I know. I was flying out last Tuesday to Santa Monica where it was 70 degrees and balmy, but it was snowing while I was sitting on the tarmac. And then we had, a 45-minute delay. And I'm checking my weather every 15 minutes going, please turn to rain, please turn to rain, please turn to rain. Because I just want to know that I can be wheeled up in a few minutes, right?
Right, right, right,
Our,
right.
our need doesn't diminish, especially when you're planning a trip or a vacation or whatever else, or,
So
a
true.
job interview or whatever you might have that day and how to prepare. But I think just in terms of the storytelling around this, I think there are a couple of things that would be really helpful in sharing this, having worked with AI leaders in lots of different boardrooms over the last year and a half. And maybe some of these are helpful. When thinking, and this goes for all of you, like, my listeners thinking about how to describe these AI initiatives, the first thing we have to recognize is the emotional state of our listener of how this feels, because every time we introduce a new technology, the immediate response of the human to change is fear. And it's not
Hmm.
simply because the technology is terrifying. The question is, will I be able to synthesize and understand it and use it myself? Right? Will I feel comfortable using this new thing that I've never seen before? And so it's incumbent upon the innovator to bring ideas about how to emotionally regulate the audience each time you're talking about a new technology or a new thing. Like, I don't know, casual Fridays, in my Gen X world was a big deal.
Hmm.
Just shifting for a lot of people, especially older folks in the office, that was a change and it felt uncomfortable, right? Even though it was supposed to make us comfy. So, step one is, can you emotionally recognize where your listener is coming from? And by the way, there's a process for this called empathy mapping. We ask
Hmm.
ourselves, what are the voices around my audience member that would make them feel a particular way? Can I recognize them and can I even call them out? I'm sure you've heard about AI. You've probably heard about job losses. You've probably heard about the amazing ability to plan your whole vacation itinerary with ChatGPT in 15 minutes. All of that's true. Let's talk about what it means here. There's also a pain and a gain. Learning anything new is painful. We have to like strap on our beginner's mind and try something new. So, can you identify the agony as your listener perceives it, what they'll be feeling, and empathize with them? So, I say, I know it's going to be weird seeing this avatar instead of me personally, but I think when you hear my voice and you hear the information that I've been giving you for the last 15, 20 years in a way that you know it and you can trust it, I think you might find it not so painful. Just a simple acknowledgement of that from your listener is a big step forward. And the other is the gain. Have you spelled out what the opportunity is for your listener, not for you? So great. Amy doesn't have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to let you know what's happening with the next hurricane because the National Weather Service is going to do it for you. It's accurate, it's competent, it's complete. So the gain you'll get is not having to wait and turn on the news and sit in front of the TV, but rather you'll get it exactly when you need it. Would that be valuable to you? So getting really clear about what that gain is, and especially if you can quantify it, imagine getting your weather 50% faster and more accurate each time, right? But it's not about what matters to you. That's the opportunity. It's about what matters to the listener. So what's the gain they hope to get from it? So maybe they just love Amy's little corny jokes at the end of her segment, right? And we hope that that gets included with the weather. Great. Version 3.0 is going to have a litany of things from, Mr. Sprinkle and Storm Fields, as well as Amy's own jokes about what's happening with the weather. I love how Kimmel does, like, I can't believe it's December. Like, I can't believe it's whatever every month. You're like,
Right,
I can't believe it's fall. You're like, really?
right.
So emotional regulation, recognize where people are coming from. Number two is be empathetic with change. People hate it. We have to address it as innovators. That's our job. And then painting the opportunity in terms that matter to them, not just to us. And then the long term, how can they co-create this with you? Is there a space where people can give you feedback, updates, what they loved about it, what they hated about it, make them feel like they're participating and co-creating this new future with you? If you can get feedback in a way that's positive and then share back to your audience, thank you so much for your input. I want to let you know how we even made Amy Free's AI even better, right? For all of you listening, thinking about how are you actually incorporating other people and their voices into your innovation? That's going to make a huge difference in adoption, which all of us want. And then the last piece is momentum. The only way a new innovation gets picked up and starts moving is when other people start telling the story how that innovation changed their life. So as innovators, we need to help spread the word about someone got my update from Amy Freeze AI at 3 o'clock in the morning and knew they had to leave 2 hours early for the airport to make that important business meeting. Thanks for sharing that with us, that you actually got that. So all of my innovators out there listening, think about how you're co-creating a future together and incorporating their stories into yours. That's how other people, that's how user-generated content, that's how information spreads on social media today, is other people's stories, not yours. Because frankly, it's not as believable anymore to just be the prophet of the great news story. You need the followers to tell their stories if you want more converts to your innovation. Okay.
That's a good one. I love that.
Where do you see this going, Amy? What's next for Amy Freeze AI?
We've had some couple of things going. We're doing some subscriptions, so digital platforms that want weather incorporated onto their sites, onto their platforms. And then also some people are coming to me saying, I want to be a digital twin. Can you help me make this conversion and add this to my sort of tool belt of what I'm able to accomplish? And that's not just weather, that's news, that's other types of experts and professionals that want to do that. But I've also been sort of playing with some other things, like being able to do the hologram technology, automating more and more things. So hologram would be a totally different look of what the digital twin is. But imagine having a hologram right there in the airport where you could go up and ask, hey, how long is this weather delay going to be? When will the lightning be outside the 45-minute window so we can return to flight? Those types of things. And then I like this idea of being able to do more and more automation because, like you say, you can make it super personal, hyper local, super personal, and doing it in different languages. And that really is so valuable to people. They want to know a personal message when they want it and in the way that they want to receive it. So hitting on those nails right there are some of the things that we're tackling.
That's great. All right, I'm going to downshift into our hot seat questions because I have to ask every guest who comes on the show. So, Amy, what do you think is the greatest innovation of all time?
To me, it's electricity, hands down. So you look at electricity, and without it, we really wouldn't be in any of the places that we are right now. And just the ability for medical innovation alone with technology has been incredible. So for me, hands down, it is electricity.
Yes, those electroshock treatments have really helped me dramatically. So thank you. That's true. Can
I
you
love
imagine
it.
like a coal-powered laptop, your
Yeah.
steam-powered laptop? I don't think that's
Mm-mm.
happening.
Don't think it would work.
Okay, if we are trying to dispel the idea of a single breakthrough innovator, almost every innovation in the world has happened with teams and other brilliant thinkers alongside what looks like the public innovator. So if you had the chance to join any innovation team in human history, which team would you have joined?
I'd go back to Apple. I mean, if I could have been there in the founding portions of Apple, that just would have been incredible. It's hard when you look at so many teams have done such amazing things, but for me, looking at that and how it, revolutionized the generation that I grew up in and now in my life, that's definitely hands down what I would have done. And what's interesting when I start to apply that concept of what I've done or what team would I have sought out, there were people in that team at Apple that didn't stay on board, that didn't ride the roller coaster up and down. So when I look at myself and my own team and the teams that I choose to be on, I think about that. Am I missing a wave that's going to ride out? Am I going to ride one that goes flat? And so looking at some of those successful teams of the past can really help you make important decisions going forward. It wasn't always perfect at Apple in the beginning. It's not always going to be perfect on your innovative team, but not dipping out and helping others see that vision and staying on board is really critical.
Yes, and not getting trapped in an elevator with Steve Jobs, according to Walter Isaacson, was
Yes,
a really good way
exactly.
to keep your job at Apple. So I'll take the next one, boss. Thanks.
Yes. Oh,
Um,
so good.
and lastly, what is the innovation that the world needs now?
If I could just make it happen somehow, a truth teller, as
Hmm.
someone telling the truth, a lie detector, I guess, that you could apply and know, what's the level of truthfulness in a certain comment and in a certain teaching. That would be amazing to have some sort of way to let us know if we're being told the truth or being lied to.
Yes, I would like that at every presidential debate. If there would just be a filter at the bottom of my
Right.
screen that would just say bleep, bleep.
Right. Let us know, please. Let us know. Red or green, which one?
Exactly. Amy, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to include a link to Amy Free so you can check out her avatar in the show notes as well. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Really any social media. So I'm on all the platforms, Instagram, X, Facebook, really anywhere you reach out to me. Eventually it'll get back to me. And I will say on that note, if it's not an official account or it is not somehow verified, then it's not me. Sometimes
Mm.
people create fake accounts. They try to have conversations with people. With me, it is all verified. I'm only using the accounts that have been given verification. So always remember that when you're trying to reach out to folks.
Wow, that is so critical, especially for someone making an AI avatar, right? You need it more than anyone because the scammer is going to be
Exactly.
doing the exact same thing. So,
Exactly.
so critical. Amy, thank you so much. Have a fantastic holiday season.
My pleasure. Thanks, Susan.